I hear this, but I don't even know where to start. And I'm slightly terrified of sharing more of who I am, whether it's online, because I'm trying to grow a brand or it's just in the world. Any advice on where they should just begin?
So I think it always begins with one. It begins with one small step. Because if we think, oh, well, I need to redo everything, I'm going to get an image consultant to redo my look. I'm going to hire somebody to redo all my social media. I'm going to do this, this, this. I'm going to hire 5 coaches. That's incredibly overwhelming. So I always say start with one. What is one area that you'd love to show up more authentically? Now, is that the way you dress or the way you look? So a very physical thing? Or is that the way your social media profiles are currently presented to the world? I think it's helpful to identify, first of all, one area that you'd like to improve on. And then from there, what is that one small step?
Welcome to the Live Brave podcast. I'm Margie Worrell. Here you'll learn how to live and lead with more courage in an increasingly anxious world. If you'd love to bring your bravest self to your biggest challenges and the boldest vision for your life, you are in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Live Brave podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking to Goldie Chan, who has been called the Oprah of LinkedIn. Goldie is someone who really gets down to the heart of what it is to show up authentically. She wrote a book recently, which is about personal branding for introverts. And of course, I am not an introvert, but what I do care about and where we share a really common passion is the intersection of the stories that we tell ourselves and leading authentically. And how do we show up authentically, consistently in a world where superficiality reigns and we feel pressured to constantly be something that often we're not? And so we're going to dive into what it takes for you to navigate a world of social media, of spin, of pressure, to feel like you're supposed to be a certain way and to do it in a way that's really congruent with who you are. So a few things that we're going to be touching on are how to turn your setbacks into powerful stories, how to create a narrative for yourself that really aligns with the person that you want to become and that enables you to show up in a really authentic way, in a way that conveys the value that you bring, but is also not kind of bending to the wind of whatever's kind of trending at the moment. We're also going to talk about how people who would much prefer not to be in the limelight, who would really rather never have to post on social media or just put themselves, on the stage or behind the podium, can do so in a way that's really authentic. And how do you deal with the pressure to be promoting yourself when you hate self promotion? And I know this for myself. Growing up, to be seen as someone who was up yourself or advocating for yourself, seemed antithetical to being humble, and it was all about be humble, don't brag. And yet I know launching a book, being a speaker, going out and building my own business, constantly feeling like I have to be promoting myself. And so I've learnt myself that the way to do that in a way that feels authentic is to really focus on the value that I want to bring, the impact I want to make to help you as the listener of this podcast, or to someone who's in my audience, or to someone who might buy my book, to help you live a bigger, braver, more meaningful life than you otherwise would. And so we're going to dive into that. I hope you will get a lot of value from what we have to share. And of course, if you are interested in how you can be more authentic and really taking Goldie's insights to the next level, you'll find a link to her new book in the show notes. I also want to do a quick plug for my upcoming retreat, Courage is Calling, in Santa Fe, New Mexico, coming up in February. You'll find a link to that in the show notes. You will also find a link to my brand spanking new LinkedIn learning course that I can honestly say is the best and most professionally produced course training program I have ever done. And I've done quite a few over the years. They blew me away. I mean, yes, I sat in a studio surrounded by a whole lot of professionals for several days last fall in California. But what they did in the post production, whoa, it was just honestly kind of blew me away. It was amazing. So I hope you'll check it out. It is, if you are part of a big company, you probably get access for free. I know there is a cost for anyone who might not be able to access it through a premium pro membership, but it's not very much. So please check it out. I've been told it's really impactful, and I would just love to support you in activating courage, in transforming discomfort for bold, confident action, which is the title of the course. And of course, if you have yet to read The Courage Gap or listen to it, narrated by yours truly, I hope you will. It was just listed as one of the best management books of 2025 by the Globe and Mail. And that was pretty exciting, pretty affirming as well. And of course, this book isn't just for people who are in management and leadership roles. It's for anyone who wants to close that gap between what it is you know you should do and what you're actually doing, between who you are now, where you are now, and where you most want to be. Because closing that gap will always require stepping toward uncertainty, doing the uncomfortable, awkward things that a part of you doesn't want to do. So, a link to the Courage Gap also in the show notes. But for now, let's get on with my conversation with Goldie Chan. And of course, if you enjoy our conversation, if you enjoy this podcast, it would mean a lot to me if you would just take a moment to rate and review it, because those ratings, they all feed into the algorithms and it helps reach more people that would otherwise never hear about it. Okay, on with my show and the insights to help you be more authentic in our very superficial world. Goldie, welcome to the Live Brave podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so, so excited today to talk about not only personal branding, but how you can stand out without shouting.
Yeah, and how you can be authentic in a way that's real. I get a lot of pitches from publicists to interview people on this podcast, and I decline probably 90% of them because I'm like, it's not my lane. And while I'm not an introvert, and I know you wrote a book that's for introverts, when I read about your fabulous new book, Personal Branding for Introverts, it was the insights on just how we can be authentic in a world that's superficial, where there's a lot of pressure to be a version of yourself that doesn't feel congruent with who you really are. And
Yeah.
so I know you have a lot of insights on that, but I want to just kick off by asking you, you were called the Oprah, or you are called the Oprah of LinkedIn. Can you tell me how
Yes.
that came about? And what has been your journey that has had you be seen and perceived by people as the Oprah of LinkedIn?
Yes. So it's so funny. I actually was just at a conference where LinkedIn had a booth, and one person came out to me. They're like, "You're the Oprah of LinkedIn," at the LinkedIn booth, which is very meta in its own way. But the reason why I got that moniker is because I created over 800 daily consecutive videos on the LinkedIn platform. So I started in the LinkedIn beta, and from 2017 to a little over 2019, I was creating daily videos. Every single day, I would do a video on branding marketing, or I would do interviews. And because of some of those interviews, especially, people just started to say on the platform, "Oh, you remind me of Oprah." And then when Huffington Post called me the Oprah of LinkedIn in the press, that nickname really took off. And also, because we're talking about personal branding, what a lot of people say about my personal brand is I am exactly the same both in this interview, but also in person and on stage. I am hopefully warm. I am thoughtful. My personal brand is very consistent and genuine across many different places. And that is also what people call the Oprah effect, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, and part of your personal brand isn't about being louder. It's about being
No.
truer.
Yes.
And if we just think about the world today, Goldie,
Yes.
what seems to get the most clicks is loud people saying extreme things. And people, in the digital world we're in, there is enormous competition for the clicks. And
Right.
I know myself over the years, I've been writing and speaking about courage and being brave for a long time.
Yes.
And people are like, oh, why don't you do something super extreme? Like, why don't you go out there and just do something really wild? Because that's going to, I'm like, because it just feels, it doesn't feel authentic to me. That's not me. I'm not about to like run through Times Square in my underwear. It's like, yes, I get that that would get me lots of clicks, but I would be selling out on who I am to do that. And so I guess I want to get your sense of, to be truer to ourselves. You just said in every platform, who you are is who you are. And for those who can't see you, well, we do have a video here, and I'm sure we'll be having some clips that will go up on socials. You've
Yes.
got green hair.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that's obviously feels very authentic to you. Talk to me about what drove you, inspired you to give yourself green hair, or maybe you change your hair color regularly and it's just that's part of what's true for you. But share with me what led you to doing that.
Yes. So I used to change my hair color very regularly. And then in 2017, when I started creating videos on LinkedIn, I happened to have green hair. Now, luckily for me, green actually is my favorite color. I love green so much. At one point, and I'll show you this for people who might see clips, these are all Pantone colors. I work with Pantone on occasion. And so I know literally from time to time which Pantone colors are my hair. Um, but at the time, what drove me to keep the green hair was because I was creating so many videos on LinkedIn, people started to use green emojis, very specifically the green heart emoji to represent me on the LinkedIn platform. And then I realized, oh, this was so interesting. This was language forming around my identity. And
Hmm.
I wanted to speak in the language of my community. And because they would use different green emojis to represent me, I realized that this made it a beautiful conversation opener for so many people. They would spot me at events, they'd see my green hair, and it was so much easier for introverts and extroverts alike to come up to me and say, oh, hi, Goldie. I knew it was you because of the green hair. I hope it's okay that I say hi. And what a delightful door opener that was that gave us both something to talk about. So I'm about to embark on my book tour, and I called it the No Small Talk book tour because introverts very famously dislike small talk. But I think what we dislike more is the having to think of something to say first versus when you have something that is an easy door opener, like for me, it's my green hair. People find it so much easier to talk with you. And if you are the owner of the green hair, it is so much easier to be approached by other people.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Do you think you're ever going to get tired of having green hair?
I do go I do go through waves of being tired of the green hair where I think I really want, and I just love having hair that's a color. So I've thought about doing other hair colors. But now I've settled into it a little bit. At some point, I will probably change it from green, but I definitely settled into it as, oh, people really enjoy that I have green hair, and
Yeah.
what a joy it is to share that with my community.
Yeah, I also think when people see other people so comfortable doing something that might be seen as kind of wild out there,
Right.
it actually gives this implicit sort of permission, like, you do you, I'm doing me, and you do you. And
Right.
I think it actually can put people at ease. It's funny though, I love the color red, and like my branding is red. I had my bridesmaids at my wedding years ago, kind of wore it with like
Yes.
a version of red. And
Yes.
I had someone once say to me, "Oh, Margie, you should always wear red and particularly on stage." And I speak a
Right.
lot, and I do wear red often.
Right.
But I got such clarity probably a decade ago when there was a few people around me saying, "You need to always be in red. That's brand
Right.
consistency." And I was like, honestly, it feels inauthentic for me to always wear red when some days
Right,
I don't want to wear red. I do not want to
right,
be held captive to an
right,
expectation that I always have to wear red. So
right.
I say to you, have green hair. And when you get tired of green hair, you do whatever color hair you want.
And I do feel that way personally. I think when I was first really developing my brand, once again in those early years, I thought, "Oh, well, I will never change this hair color." And now the place I'm in is I really enjoy this hair color, right? And there's such a emotional shift between a little bit of that insecurity and that desperation feel of establishing your personal brand. And then once you're solidly in your personal brand, I believe that this is why you also feel this way. You feel, "I don't need to wear red all the time because my authority and my expertise speak for themselves. I don't need a color to speak for me, but this color is part of my identity. It's
Yeah.
not my entire identity." And that's how I feel now about the color green. I love the color green. It's such a joy to have green hair, but I don't need to have green hair to have authority and expertise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what you just said speaks to something else that I know you've written about in your book, but in just a consistency of values and a consistency of how you show up. As
Yes.
you said already, I show up the same in different places, and
Right.
that feels true for me, and people, and that resonates with people. A lot of people, when I meet them, whether or not they're trying to build a big brand or they're just going through their lives, often can feel a bit buffeted around by the world we're living in. And it's in like, okay, over here, I'm dressing and acting like this, and over here, I'm dressing and acting and speaking like this. And they almost don't know who they are. And I think there's a balance here. And I'm curious for your take on this. I know myself. I would like to think that I'm consistent in how I show up, but I know that in some places, so I'm an Aussie, as you can tell, and when I go back to Australia, I literally get off the plane and I hear myself swearing more because culturally, Australians
I
swear
love
more.
that.
Yeah. I go to the Meetung pub where I had worked as a barmaid in my late teens and early 20s, and I have a friend there, Kelly, I see her nearly every year, and she'll always say, "You want to smoke?" And I don't smoke, but I'll have a couple of drags of a
Right.
smoke. And it's like I revert to this, 19-year-old. But all I'm trying to get at here is in different environments, some things get dialed up and some things get dialed down. And it's not that any of them are not who I am. It's just different aspects of personality can show up differently. And in some environments, it's like, yeah, this is totally not an environment where I would use, language that could be offensive to people because I know that that's the space I'm in. So, how do you sort of reconcile with, yeah, this is how I show up, but I'm mindful in some environments I have to be thoughtful of who I'm with in order to establish a connection that feels authentic, not because I'm selling out on myself, but because I'm just being situationally aware.
I think situationally aware is a great way to put it. I also think another word that you brought up, which we don't always think about in different contexts, is language, right? How do we speak and communicate with each other in different contexts and different places? Because, of course, if you're at a formal gala, it will likely be very different than the way you talk at your favorite pub. Or maybe it's not, in which case I applaud you. But I think that we have different modes that we go into. And I like to think they're not masks, right? So many of us do the very exhausting thing of wearing a mask all the time. And I so encourage everyone to not do that, that they have a thorough line of who they are as a person that never changes through any environment that they're in. Mostly because I'm a person that I have limited resources internally. I'm a cancer survivor. So just energetically, I don't always have 100% battery. but I like to think really carefully about what I exert my energy on. And part of that is who I am as a person when I'm in person with different people. And I think it's so much less exhausting to always have a part of yourself really present in every single situation. So you're different sides of yourself, but you're not a mask of yourself. You're not completely pretending to be a different person. You're just showing different sides of who you are. And we all do a little bit of changing around different people because we want to speak in the language of the different people that we're around because that fills us with comfort, that fills the other people that we're around with comfort. And it is always nice to be comfortable in different situations.
Something that you just mentioned about having to protect your energy.
Yes.
And obviously you were forced to learn how to do that during your journey with cancer. And I'm glad you're well.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, go on.
all of us need to do that, right? And so I'm curious for you what you've learned and what have you found helpful and what do you think other people sometimes fail to be mindful enough of?
So I think regardless of if you are an introvert or extrovert, this is a common conversation I've had is everyone these days feels so much more overwhelmed by the world around us, by the environment that has so many more stressors. I mean, even the internet, as magical and amazing as it is, can be a stressor in our lives because there's just constant information, there's constant overload. And I think that one of the things that we need to be more mindful of is our internal battery. Now, for my book, I call this the introvert battery, but obviously extroverts also have a battery. Extroverts can also be drained by so many things that happen in our world because we have so many tiring things that are happening. So I think it's so helpful to think what increases that battery for you and what decreases that battery for you. And if you constantly have a drain on your battery, and that's something that isn't a required something in your life, maybe you can lessen that. Maybe you can spend less time with that person, place, or thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can think about replacing that person, place, or thing with something that energizes you more. And of course, we have things that we can't necessarily replace, like our jobs or our family. But I always think it's helpful that we, for example, we choose who our friends are, right? We choose our social activities. So why can't we make, similar to our diet, healthier choices with our energy too?
Yeah. I think a key thing in terms of that energy in, energy out is the social media that we consume. I mean, we know that food gives us energy. We know relationships give us and take away energy, which is a big one. And I know myself, there's certain people that, I can love them, but I need to put a boundary around them because they can be really siphoning of energy because they live in complaint or they live in a state of constant anxiety or um, they're just railing all the time at the state of the world or politics or particular political
Yes.
figures.
Yes.
But social media, I recently took off my phone all my social media, and I'm largely on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I took it all off my phone. I've still got it all because I found myself at times getting sucked in, particularly later at night when there's so many worthwhile things I could have done, but just that scrolling. I
Mhm.
totally those algorithms, they got me, and it's like scroll and scroll,
Right.
and energy sucking, and never step away feeling better. Never
Mhm.
step away going, whoa, I feel so good because I just spent 20 minutes on Instagram. Well, honestly, LinkedIn is I find it not such a suck, but still it can pull you in. I'm curious for you, someone who has obviously spent a lot of time on social media.
Right.
You did 800 days, and man, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
800 days of posting videos. How do you protect your energy, set boundaries so that you can bring the best version of yourself to the content you're creating and posting, but set a boundary on the very platforms that you're putting it on?
Oh, so I think it's helpful to, first of all, Once again, know what drains you and know what doesn't drain you, and also know what you need to do for work. So, if you are in the middle of a job search and you need to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, that's unfortunately unavoidable. But when you're talking about the constant scroll on Instagram or on TikTok or any of these other platforms that are geared towards keeping us on there watching videos of puppies or
Hmm.
or I watch a lot of food videos. I love food. I think that we get into this very addictive state where we are addicted to certain kinds of media and they are junk media, right? It is exactly what I talked about with healthy foods. I am working on lowering my cholesterol right now myself. That is a health journey I'm on. And so I'm trying to be more thoughtful, looking at labels, seeing what kind of cholesterol, fats, salt are in food and I try to do the same, honestly, with my social media sometimes. I say, maybe I don't want to log on at all if I don't have to onto certain platforms for certain days. So I will do a digital detox for a whole day, at least a whole 24-hour cycle for a period of time where I won't log on to certain platforms. I don't engage. I don't look at it unless I absolutely need to, because I think that's so much healthier than being online 24/7, being glued to the platforms. And I do say this about all of those videos I created is that it is helpful to think that I just like to think I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. That was a certain journey I went through with my own content that was very overwhelming for me, but I stubbornly did it because I was very internally motivated by that. But when I meet people who are externally motivated to say, I will do 365 days of video, I usually find that those people are the people that aren't able to complete that year of video or content or whatever it is on social media because it's an external factor that they're trying to chase versus having an internal guide that says, I really want to do this. But this all ties back into having a healthy boundary with your social media is very important, or else you will get drained and you will find yourself saying, I wish I had more time to read books, right? I wish I had more time to spend with loved ones, but I never seem to have time. But notice how much of your day you spend scrolling your different social media platforms and try to aggregate that time and think, if you spent an hour, or probably more likely 3 to 4 hours on social media throughout the day, could you have aggregated that time instead to spend with loved ones, to spend out in the park, on a walk, to spend that reading an amazing book, to play music, to do things that activate other parts of our brain, which when you get older, and I mean significantly older, all of these things help.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Setting boundaries on it, I found to be extremely helpful. And I'm going to check it in the morning. I'll check it in the afternoon, but I'm not going to check it 50 times in between. And I'm only checking it when I'm at my computer, which, you know, I'm sitting in my desk during the week, but I'm
Right.
not at it during the weekend. So there's just a natural boundary that gets set. I can't remember who said it. Um, he said it like 100 years ago before social media existed, but that as human beings, we can be prone to being tranquilized by the trivial.
That's so good.
And so we'll get pulled into whether it's discussing the weather or
Right.
discussing the sporting scores or, just the things. There was trivia 100 years ago, and obviously there's trivia now, but it distracts us from our lives. It distracts us sometimes from the deep thought we might need to put into how to deal with a tension in a relationship or what we really want for ourselves and a change we want to make. So we just sit there and we numb ourselves and we dumb ourselves and we disconnect from those things. So I think just knowing that our brains are wired to seek that tranquilizing effect.
Right.
Just be aware that, your own neurobiology can be working against you. But I want to just now jump over to, I talk a lot about courage and living
Mhm,
authentically and being true
mhm.
for yourself. You've
Yeah.
obviously had your own journey that's required you to be brave in ways that you would not have imagined when you were younger. What has being brave looked like for you over the course of particularly your last 10 years?
Yes. So in my book, I talk about the 5 C's of personal branding. And one of those C's is community. And another one is confidence. Now, the easier answer to this would be to talk about my growth with confidence and feeling more confident in my life. But I'd rather speak on community because I think that we get so much of our courage from the good people we surround ourselves with. And I say that so specifically because I just also did a few mentorship sessions at this conference I was just at. And I was supposed to be reviewing their design portfolios and their work portfolios. And so many of these people wanted life advice instead. And one of the people in particular, we talked about all the toxic people that are currently in her life that prevent her from being a great entrepreneur. And I think that with our community and myself in particular, we tend to have sometimes people who are not good in our lives. Everyone has toxic people in their lives. And in the last 10 years, I've had waves of good people and not so good people in my life. And particularly through my cancer journey, one thing that I did very purposefully is I shared my cancer journey very publicly across all my social media platforms. I shared my chemotherapy journey. I shared even when I lost all my hair. So I didn't have green hair for a while because I had no hair. I shared all of that incredibly publicly because I wanted to rely on, for me, my online community and my offline community for support. So it was a really good way of people knowing that, quite frankly, I was still alive and that they could still support me and they could still be there for me emotionally, even if they couldn't be there for me physically because I was very immunocompromised and I couldn't see people in person. So I relied very heavily on my community as an outside source for courage. And I got rid of all of the people who were demanding things from me at the time, who were asking me to work with brands at the time, which I didn't want to do. I got rid of all of that fluff during that time. So I really had pure community that wanted to help me, that wanted to uplift me. And to me, that was very much an outside version of courage that then I could internalize because they were so wanting me to survive and wanting me to literally live another day. And it was wonderful to be supported and uplifted by my community in that way. So, in so many ways, I got courage from the outside, and that outside was able to come in.
Thank you for sharing that. And it resonates deeply. I actually, just prior to you and I getting on this call, I was talking to someone and I was sharing how in 2020, my husband had flown in from New York. I was living in Singapore. He had a cough. He went off to get a test for COVID. It was when they could only get tests in hospitals, and he
Yes.
tested positive.
Oh my gosh.
And I was immediately put into a 15-day quarantine in our apartment with my son. The government was calling 3 times a day with a video to check we hadn't left. And I had kids on the other side of the world in the US who were homeless, and I felt overwhelmed. And I think within about 24 hours, I got on Facebook, and I think I did a Facebook Live and just said, one, I really appreciate prayers for my husband, who ultimately was fine. But at that moment in
Good.
time, I didn't know he would be fine.
Right.
Told it was in his lungs. I was really feeling very, very anxious and overwhelmed. And some people said, why did you go and put that on Facebook for everyone? Some people are my friends and some aren't. Like some people, I don't know them very well. But I just knew that I wanted every bit of love and,
Yes.
love, prayer, whatever you want to send me. I just knew I needed that in that moment to help me be as brave as I wanted to be. And so I think at times, reaching out and letting people know what's going on, being authentic in that way, like this is going on for me and this is hard. And yes, without even looking at this through a personal brand, I mean, everything we do is impacting our reputation, whether it's through a professional branding or not. But actually being willing to reveal our own and share our own vulnerability and share our own journey in a way that is not trying to prove that we've got it all together, but just going, hey, I'm struggling here and I just love any support you want to give to me, whatever form you can. I do think enables us to be braver. And there's a lot of research that shows, we are more resilient and courageous through our connectedness with others.
Yes.
Success is not a solo endeavor. So thank you for sharing that story because, yeah, it brings to mind my own and it brings to mind just how important it is for all of us. And I think a lot of people don't like sharing, like, hey, I'm
Right.
struggling here, but that in itself, there's so much power to get from that.
Think because we are still animals at the end of the day. Humans are, we're flesh and blood. And I think that we resonate so well when we see someone be genuinely, and I say that very specifically, genuinely vulnerable, right? I think that there's some people who try to manufacture vulnerability. I'm sure you see it all the time on social media.
Mhm.
But when we see people genuinely vulnerable internally, I truly feel that as humans, we resonate. We find that attractive because we know all of us have vulnerabilities. All of us have weak points that we share publicly or we don't share publicly. And so it's very interesting to me to see people who are willing to be brave online in a real way. And that will always attract the right people to you as well when you're being so genuinely vulnerable. I was speaking to someone 2 days ago, and he said that, we had never spoken before, but he's been following me for many years, and he said that, "Goldie, you don't know this, but I had a health scare." I had a cancer scare. And he's like, I was very scared for 2 weeks because I was waiting to get results back on if it was cancerous or not. And he said it ultimately was not. And I'm so glad it wasn't for him. But he said that he actually looked back at some of my older posts that he remembered seeing and he looked them up and he said, it was so reassuring to see that you had talked about it so vulnerably and that now you're all right. And he's like, that gave me a little bit of courage to see that you shared it, you were not okay, and then you were okay. He's like, "It just made me feel a little better to know that if I don't feel so great right now, that's okay. There's definitely a chance that I will be okay."
Yeah, this brings us back full circle. That comment that you sharing your authentic journey helped him through his own. And that actually, when we show up authentically, we silently give others this invitation for them to show up authentically.
Yes.
And there's so much power in that. And yet, of course, we live in a world where there's a lot of pressure to put on a mask
Yes.
and like, hey, my life's fantastic. Like we see it. We see the highlight reel on social media all the time. And there's certain people you're like, oh, what's really going on in your life? And then you find out, oh, they got divorced and they were the happiest couple on the planet last week. Okay.
Right.
And, and so there's a lot of pressure on that external. But I just want to it's a perfect way to bring this back to for anyone right now who's going through any sort of challenge or is looking at making a change or is maybe outgrown an identity that they've had. They've maybe felt pressure to prove or have some mask and they're ready to kind of grow into a more authentic version of themselves. It's like, I want to leave behind some of these masks and some of
Yes.
this pressure I put on myself to look like I've got it all together and my life is perfect and I'm perfect. What would you say to someone who is like, oh, I hear this, but I don't even know where to start. And I'm slightly terrified of sharing more of who I am, whether it's online, because I'm trying to grow a brand or it's just in the world. What would be your, encouragement to them? Any advice on where they should just begin?
So I think it always begins with one. It begins with one small step. Because if we think, oh, well, I need to redo everything, I'm going to get an image consultant to redo my look. I'm going to hire somebody to redo all my social media. I'm going to do this, this, this. I'm going to hire 5 coaches. That's incredibly overwhelming. So I always say start with one. What is one area that you'd love to show up more authentically. Now, is that the way you dress or the way you look? So, a very physical thing? Or is that the way your social media profiles are currently presented to the world? So, that's maybe your online presence. Or maybe you want to be a more confident speaker. You want to learn what is confident posture and confident ways to speak on something as simple as this, a Zoom call, or on something even in person. Maybe you are doing team meetings and you want to speak more confidently there. I think it's helpful to identify, first of all, one area that you'd like to improve on. And then from there, what is that one small step? So maybe that's going to a store and asking, going to whatever's your local large department store and asking for someone to help you with what is one good business outfit, right? Maybe that's taking a course on LinkedIn Learning about how to be a better professional speaker. And I have one on there about that. Maybe it is also simply looking at your social media and saying, I want to be perceived as an expert in, I don't know, product design. So you should like, how can you change your social media profiles and your LinkedIn profile to represent that you are that particular expert? What is the first tiny step forward we can go? And it all starts from our bigger goals. What are your bigger goals? How at the end of the day do you want to be seen? And that, of course, is your personal brand. How do you want to tell the story of your personal brand? And to me, personal branding is always storytelling.
Amen. I think that that is a beautiful way to finish up this conversation, that personal branding is always storytelling. And you are each of us are the author of our own story. And this isn't about writing a story that it has you on the sidelines, or is a story about that's not really truly who you are, but you get to choose how you tell that story and how you weave in your experiences of the past into that story. And you get to change the story that you've been telling if that story no longer reflects the person you're on the way to becoming. That may have been how you told the story last year or last month, but you can tell that story in a new way that really honors and reflects the person that you want to be in the future.
Yes.
Yeah. So, look, Goldie, I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for being on the Live Brave podcast. And more so, thank you for writing your book, and thank you for being a role model of what it is to be really true to yourself and to live bravely.
Thank you. And thank you also for sharing your podcast. I know so many listeners out there listen to this and use it as a source of guidance and courage. So thank you too.
Yeah, well, it's all about courage, obviously, here. And I think we all need it in our lives. So thank you again, Goldie, and all the very best with the launch of your new book.
Thank you.